How good is your board vision? Elite players routinely calculate long variations and are able to visualize complex positions. And the final question, can you attack like a master? IMs typically have FIDE ratings between 24 to 2500, while FIDE masters are usually in the 2300 to 2400 range. What you see before you are two grandmasters playing at bullet speed. Okay, let's take it up another level. Who are the best chess players and who are the most valued chess players? National masters often hover around 22 to 2300. Now, IMs must achieve 3 IM norms in international tournaments to cross the 2400 rating threshold. Here's a game that was played by two international masters. But let me give you the heads up. Black made a big blunder, I guess transitioning from the opening to the middle game into the middle game, and you're going to see what that blunder was in this game. This is the Alekhines defense. After e4, knight f6, game continues with e5, knight d5, d4, challenging white's pawn on e5, capture and recapture. Now, this is followed by bishop e2, bishop e7, and c4. So white gets tempo, two connected pawns, c4 and d4. And let's see how black prepares against this white center. After knight f3, bishop g4. So far black is doing fine. Here, rook e8, h3, bishop h5. Okay, black's doing well so far. Now, black is going on a journey behind the ranks, which is not so bad. Except in this position, white just played h3, threatening to play g4, and then pawn to g5. This is where black makes the blunder. Playing a knight to e7 will not give the bishop on f6 an escape route. Can you see why this is a blunder? And white did not capitalize on the blunder here. The move to make in this position is pawn to g4. Gaining tempo. And after bishop g6, pawn to g5 gains another tempo. Now the bishop is trapped. Knight f5, capture, and now after this, queen takes f6 and knight captures the d5 pawn. Queen f5 and bishop c4, and white continues attacking, and the c7 pawn is under attack. So, what separates the IMs from national masters, for example, or FIDE masters? Opening depth, theoretical understanding, and endgame mastery. And just to give you an idea of what this means is that, for example, when it comes to calculation depth, IMs calculate longer, more accurate, and they can evaluate dynamic positions better. This is a game that I was playing myself. On Lichess, I'm playing the white pieces. All you gotta do is look at the bottom and you'll see my name, Chess Assassin 3. Same as my name on YouTube. So this is how the game opened. E4, D5, center counter, and he gained tempo on my knight. Okay, and now I get two knights on F3 and G3, bishop G4, but H3. There's a trade on F3, and now my next step is to bring my bishop to the A2 to G8 diagonal, aiming at the weak F7 square. Bishop C4, bishop D6, and now my knight takes that beautiful post on F5. He tries to kick me out, but he forgets about the G7 pawn. Check, and his mistake was moving the king to E6. He was supposed to play the king over to F8. But king E6 led to nothing other than checkmate. That's a way to get mated in a bullet game, a 1-minute bullet game, but within 50 seconds. I'm sorry, 10 seconds. They tend to make fewer tactical oversights or mistakes. IMs instantly recognize more complex tactical motifs. Superior technique. IMs convert small advantages with greater precision. And time management and psychological resilience. IMs are more composed under pressure. And that's just to give you a few. So the final question is, what will it take to bridge the gap between FIDE or national masters and international masters? One more game that I played before we get on with the video. I'm going to just show you this last one. I was playing the white pieces once more. Now this game is so beautiful. What I like about this is a move that I made, and my opponent was just stuck. And as a matter of fact, I believe my opponent just abandoned this game because of my such beautiful move. So I'm playing the white pieces. I start off with E4, so I'm going for an open game. B6, he's playing some sort of queen's pawn on D6, queen side fianchetto. Maybe it's a queen's fianchetto. I'm not sure. I guess he's transposing to a queen's Indian defense. Okay, so I take the knight on H5 that he didn't move. But that's not the part I want you to focus on. Okay, he tries to defend his weakened king side now. Once again, just in the previous game, I occupied the beautiful F5 square. Okay, so check, knight G6, and now his light squares are just being destroyed. No, as a matter of fact, nothing on the light squares for him. Knight takes G7, King E7, and I sacrifice my, check this out, let me go back a few moves. He attacks my knight, I play Queen takes H5 check. He blocks a check, and then I capture the pawn on E6. I capture the pawn on the bishop on G7 check. King E7, because that's the only move he can play in this position. And I sacrifice my queen by playing queen to d5. His bishop can take my queen. But in his position, he refused to take my queen and just sat there, and that was it. Because if bishop takes queen on d5, then knight will recapture, and it will result in checkmate. Or wait to lose in the opening. Well, to bridge the gap, you would need rigorous self-analysis of games to eliminate recurring weaknesses, engine-assisted opening preparation and a deeper study of model games, in-game training, focused in-game training, and structured calculation drills, and regular norm-seeking tournaments. And now let's get into the meat of the lesson. What separates masters from amateurs? In this position, it is white to move. If white plays pawn to h4, thinking the black is going to take the pawn on h4 just so that white can take the pawn on f4, it is a mistake. If pawn to h4, then black replies with pawn to a4 on the queen side. And where do chess masters excel? Greetings to all visitors, new visitors, and greetings to my fellow chess assassins. Welcome to my new YouTube channel. This is the first video of the video series entitled Attack Like a Master. I have a whole gang of chess masters with me to assist me. So in this video, I am 20 masters deep. And now from this point on, I'm going to let the masters take over.
Hello. So answering the question, where do chess masters excel? And the answer is calculation and pattern recognition. That's where we excel, enabling us to navigate complex positions, especially in the middle game, such as the one above. In this position, it is black to move, but it is white who must find a way to undermine black's plan. Now, I'm sure you have read chess books where it says that knights should occupy posts, take up posts or occupy weak squares. Here, the knight wants to go to the d3 square, but taking into consideration the nature and the skill of the player or of the opponent, you have to actually look closer at the position. White is not afraid to stir up complications.
Okay, pause right there for a moment. Let's hold that thought and see how another master will handle this position.
Well, my approach is to evaluate the position first. Why? Because the middle game is the most crucial part for masters.
So what if black plays knight d3?
If black plays the knight to d3, what would you play here as white? Well, if knight to d3, then white's got some tactical possibilities at his disposal.
Okay, stop right there. Let's do this. Let's hand this over to another master to do the evaluation.
Now this is indeed a very complex position. It appears that black's position is solid, but white has a pawn on the 7th rank. An additional factor is white's rook on d1. And white's rooks are also nicely placed on the D and E files. And lastly, white's knight on D2 is strategically placed.
Okay, thank you for that evaluation. Now we're going to hand it over to another master to actually work out the tactics.
Look, before you start, you know white can also go wrong.
But first, let's include some visual aids. The queen on c4 occupies the light squares. The knight on d2 eyes the e4 pawn, and white's rooks are nicely placed in the center. Okay, next, master.
Now at first glance, knight d3 looks like a good move for black, but white has various tactical things. Knight captures e4 removes the defender of the knight on d3. Clearing sacrifice. Now black can play knight c5 or knight captures rook on e1. We're going to look at both possibilities. First, we'll look at pawn captures knight on e4. If pawn captures knight, then rook captures e4, removing the defender once more. Why does this tactical sequence work for white? Well, if you look at black's back rank and the position of black's king all the way in the corner. And a third factor is that black's queen is out of play on h6. And after rook takes e4, knight takes b2, rook takes e8 check, followed by rook, and then the pawn promotes, and black is busted.
Now hold that thought. What if the knight does not capture the pawn on b2 and instead plays knight c5? Next, master.
Knight c5 leads to rook takes e8 check, rook takes e8, and now rook to d8. And the pawn supports the rook on d8.
Now what can black do to put up resistance from this position?
Queen to h5. The other option is queen c1. Let's look at both. Queen c1 check. And it doesn't matter what black does. And after queen c1 check, queen c4 to f1 covers the check. Queen takes f1 check. King takes f1. And the rook on e8 is pinned. And the pawn will promote.
Okay, thank you very much. That was beautiful. Now, one of you masters stated that white could go wrong. Could you show me that variation? And nice shirt, by the way. It says University of Chicago.
Yeah, thanks. Which one are you talking about?
Yes, what happens after knight captures on e1?
If knight takes e1, then if white plays knight to d6, headed for the f7 square, then this will only lead to a draw by perpetual check.
Oh, okay, I see now. So instead of winning the game, white just goes for the draw. I guess you would consider this not winning a one game.